So guys, before starting today's topic, let's first see the answer of the assignment that I gave you in the last video. So basically the assignment was to accept the name, percentage and the marks of a student and display them to the terminal. Now let's do that. First we accept the name and take in the input, and then let's take marks and that to input, and also the percentage, and after taking the input we also have to display them to the terminal, which can be done via the print statement. So we can write print and pass in these variables. So this is our final answer. Now let's run this program and see the result. So as you can see, it asks for the name and marks and percentage, and as you can see it prints out the name and the marks and the percentage as intended. I hope you had fun doing this assignment, and if you were not able to do this assignment, there is no need to worry. We are just learning and you can just see this solution and understand it so that you will be able to do it the next time. Okay, so now you know how to take input and display it to the terminal. Now we will see how to process that input. For example, we are going to make a program that will take the marks of two subjects and add them together and display the result. So let's first take in the input of the marks of the first subject. We can say marks 1 equals input, enter the marks of, let's just say, English, and we can also, let's just rename our variable to English as well, because you should always keep your variable's name as descriptive as possible. And let's take maths also, input, enter the marks of maths. And now you might say we can just add them together and display the result, but if we do that, let's just see, print English plus maths. By the way, that is how you add numbers together in Python. You can just add like them. What we just wrote here is called an expression. When Python executes this print function, it first evaluates this expression. It has to first evaluate this to one single result, which will be printed on the terminal. So if we run this and enter the marks of English and maths, and it gives 9889. Now you might say 98 plus 89 is not that, and it is because we are adding strings together. So Python is just doing this. It is saying in strings 98 plus 89 when we are printing the result of this. But if we add these two strings together, Python is just gonna concatenate these strings. Concatenate basically means putting one string next to the other. So Python is just gonna put these two strings together and not add the numbers. So to tell Python that we are adding numbers together and not strings, we have to convert these strings to a number. So to convert them, we can use the int function. Let's remove this print statement and we can store the result in a variable. So let's just say result equals English plus maths. Now as we know, this gives us this answer, so we can so instead of doing that, we need to convert these strings to integers. So to do that, there is a built-in function in Python called int. We can call the int function on them and pass the English as the pass them both as the arguments. So we can do this. So what it is doing right here is when it is evaluating result, it is first executing this int function and putting in the argument as English, and then the int function is doing some calculation and it returns the result as an integer, and that is the same for maths. So let's try and printing the result and print it. Marks of English and maths, and as you can see, it gives the right answer this time. It is 188. So this is how you can convert your input to other data types. So we discussed data types in our last video. Integer is a data type, float is also a data type. So if we just say float in both of them instead of integer, now it will convert them to float instead of int. So let's run this. 98 and 90 just, so it will be 188.0. but the thing is, now we can enter decimal points, so we can say 98.5 and 89.5. so it will give us the same result. But if we entered these decimal points in the integer program, then it would give us an error. Let's see, int and this to integer. And now let's run this program, and if we type 98.9 or something like this, see, it gives us a traceback. Traceback is just the way Python says error. It says the file, this first program, which is the name of our file, has an error in line 4. Line 4 is this, in which it is evaluating the result variable. So it printed out that line in which the error is, and it is saying what type of error it is. It is a value error. So it is basically saying that the int function can only accept numbers with base 10 and there should be no decimal, but we passed in a number that has a decimal point, so it gives us an error. So that is why we have to use float whenever we handle the decimal numbers. So this is how the program should be. But if we don't want to use the decimals, we can use the integers as well. There are many functions for conversion of data types. There is int function, there is float, there is string to convert an integer or float to a string, str, and there is also bool. It can be used to convert a string to a boolean variable, true or a false. So these are the basic conversions for the variables, and I hope you have understood them very well. But still, if you have any questions, you can write them in the comments and I will make sure to answer them. So before we finish the video, I would also like to tell you about one more built-in function in Python, which is called type. So for example, if you have data coming in from somewhere and you don't know what is its type, whether it is a string, float, or boolean or an integer, and you want to check what data type it is, you can do so with the type function. So let's say we want to get the type of the variable English. So this will be the syntax. We are calling the type function and we are passing it English as the argument. Now what it will return is the data type that English belongs to. So we can just try printing what it will return. If you are a bit confused how we just chain these two functions together, what Python will do is, when it will go to print, it will first evaluate this expression which is inside the brackets of print. So first it will evaluate what is the type of English and then it will print it to the terminal. So let's see what it does. And if we enter marks and this, it says class str. Str is basically the acronym for string, str and string are the same thing, so it just says it belongs to the class of string. And if we print the type of result variable which we have declared right here, let me just indent that properly. Okay, so we are printing the type of English here, and we are also printing the type of result here. And let's run this. Type of English, and it says the English as string as just as before, and it says the type of result is float, so it belongs to the data type float. Now we have covered how to check a variable if it is a string, integer, float or a boolean. I hope you have understood this concept. So before we finish this video, once again I would like to give you an assignment. Please make sure to at least try all the assignments I give you, because you cannot just program by seeing the tutorials. You have to actually write the program to get to know programming. So your assignment is that you have to accept the marks for 4 subjects as input, and then calculate the average of the marks and store them in a variable and print that variable to the terminal. If you didn't already know, we'll calculate the average by adding the marks of all the 4 subjects and dividing them by 4. And the division operator in Python is /. I hope you will be able to do this assignment. You will see the solution in the next video. I hope you had fun learning Python with me, and please join me for the next video as well. Until then, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you liked it. Thanks for watching.